carburetor and governor operation of Kawasaki fuel systems. Adjustments must be performed in the proper sequence, as follows: throttle control cable position, choke valve adjustment, governor adjustment, high idle speed adjustment, and low idle speed adjustment. The first adjustment to be made is to get the proper throttle control cable position. To do this, move the throttle on the machine console to the fast position, making sure that it is not in the choke position. A detent keeps the operator from accidentally moving into choke from the fast position. Now, loosen the cable clamp bracket on the throttle plate, leaving the bolt loose. While looking straight in at the throttle control plate like this, move the cable back and forth until the hole in the speed control lever behind the control plate lines up with the hole in the outside control plate. To hold it in place, insert the smooth end of a 6mm drill bit or a sharpened pencil through the two holes to keep them aligned. Then, pull up on the cable to remove any slack, and tighten the cable clamp bracket back down. The drill bit properly aligns the movable speed control with the stationary carburetor throttle plate. The throttle valve has now been adjusted to a wide open position. The next adjustment to be made is for proper choke operation. Again, the drill bit must be in place through the two holes with the throttle lever at the end of the slot in the full position. Now, locate the choke screw under the choke control lever and back the screw out until it's no longer touching the lever. Then, turn it back in until the screw barely comes in contact with the lever. Once you've done that, remove the drill bit. Check the operation of the choke by moving the throttle back and forth, and then into the choke position. The choke link must fully close the choke. To make sure that it's closed all the way, push on the choke lever at the carburetor with your finger. There shouldn't be any movement. If there is, you will have to adjust the link by bending it or replace it entirely. Adjustment of the link will depend on the type used. Finally, always check to be sure that the speed control lever returns to the fast position as the throttle moves off choke. To do this, cycle the control back and forth from the choke to the fast position and check the alignment of the holes. They should always line up. If they don't, the engine will continue to operate in partial choke whenever the speed control is moved off choke. The end result will be a rough running condition. If you wish, you can pause the program now to try the two adjustments we've shown you. Our next adjustment is for proper operation of the governor, a procedure to ensure that the governor is able to operate throughout its full range. To begin with, move the throttle lever to the fast position. Loosen this nut that holds the governor arm on the governor shaft. Insert a small pin or drill bit into the hole in the end of the shaft and use it as a lever to turn the shaft and governor lever as far as they will go. On most engines, the movement should be clockwise. However, there is at least one engine where the action would be counterclockwise. Check your manual to be sure. Once you've done this, tighten the governor arm nut. After you've made the adjustment, move the throttle lever back and forth to be sure that the linkage is not binding. If it is, repeat the adjustment. Now, move the throttle lever to the fast position and recheck the alignment of the holes in the speed control lever and the throttle plate. If necessary to get the holes back in alignment, loosen the cable clamp bolt and readjust the cable. Always keep in mind that the governor must be adjusted after any repairs to the engine or the governor linkage. We'll be right back with our final adjustments. The two remaining adjustments are to set the maximum speed, or high idle, and the low idle. A tachometer will be needed for these adjustments. The vibration type works very well. We'll begin by setting the high idle. First, start the engine and allow it to warm up for a few minutes. Once it's warm, move the throttle to the fast position. As before, check to make sure that the two holes on the speed control lever and the throttle control plate line up. Then put the drill bit back in the holes to hold them in place. Loosen the two control plate mounting bolts until the plate can be moved. And then place the tachometer on the engine to get a reading. The machine technical manual will supply the maximum high idle speed for the one you're working on. To increase the high idle speed, slide the control plate, which is attached to the governor spring, to the right. This movement adds tension to the governor spring, and engine RPMs increase until the governor flyweights counteract the increased pull of the spring. Moving the plate to the left removes some of the tension from the governor spring. RPMs decrease until a new balance is reached between the governor spring and the flyweight forces. Remember, Kawasaki carburetors have fixed main jets, so there is no adjustment to the high idle fuel supply. Maximum speed is determined totally by the position of the throttle plate. After the high idle speed is set, carefully hold the throttle plate in position while you tighten the two bolts and remove the drill bit. With the high idle set, you can now move on to setting of the low idle. First, tighten the pilot needle valve until it lightly seats. Then, back it out 1 1/8 turns. This should provide a sufficient fuel-air volume to allow the engine to idle. Be very cautious when first seating the needle valve. If you over-tighten it, both the valve and the seat can be damaged, and it will make adjustment a real problem. As before, the engine should first be warmed up and the throttle moved to the lowest idle position. Put the tachometer on the engine and adjust the idle stop screw until the engine is turning over at the specified idle speed. Now, to fine-tune the idle, go back to the pilot valve and turn it in until engine speed begins to drop or runs rough. Then, turn it out until the engine gets back to peak RPM and starts to drop off again. Adjust it until it is running at its peak. Then, turn it out a quarter turn from that point. This increases the idle circuit fuel flow, which provides the engine with good speed transition as the throttle is advanced. Remember, use the needle valve to find the peak idle RPM. Then, turn it out an additional quarter turn. Finally, using the tachometer and the idle stop screw, adjust the speed to the specified RPM, plus or minus 100. It's always a wise move to double-check the specs for the machine in your technical manual. That concludes the section of our course on adjustments. We'll be back with the final section on diagnosis of potential problems in just a moment.